The Garden Report is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Celtics are prohibitive championship favorites now, in my mind. You guys agree?
Yeah, I felt that way even before this deal. I felt that they were a slightly better team than the Bucks, but now, yeah, to me, I think the bandwagon is at mass capacity right now as far as the Celtics being the favorites after this deal.
Well, let me see if I can back that up with some actual facts here. What does FanDuel have to say about it? They have this at this moment in time, co-favorites. They didn't have enough time to really think about it. They just had to do something before the Celtics bets started flooding in. So they made them co-favorites.
Because you know they're coming.
But you know that number is going to move, right?
Whoever got in on that little 500.
Yeah, exactly. If you got in
was...
before this, great. I'd still get in on it now because I think that number is going to move again and the Celtics will be favorites.
No Denver, huh? People still sleeping on Denver a little bit.
They're great. But it's to have co-favorites out of the East. This means like I really don't know what to do, but I gotta correct something. Yeah, here. So that's what they did there. So yeah, I would say the big question. Bench depth is an obvious question. You had it before. You have it again now. The big question is Joe. And it's going to continue to be Joe. We are not going to answer it in this show, but that's the one where you guys were saying, like, who's he going to be this year? Is he going to mature a little bit? Is he going to be less defensive about his choices? Is he going to know how to put these guys in the best position to win? Is the team going to buy into whatever his philosophy is? Or do you now have too many veterans and too many strong? Look at what you've got here. These guys are pros. Okay. You're not coaching D2 college here. You're coaching veterans who have different varying degrees of success here, but these are some big boys. They gotta really believe that what you're saying is the right thing. We can't have Joe wants to shoot threes, but we think we should be playing defense and driving the ball sort of situation here. That's not going to be great. So I am curious, like, does this change his thinking about what kind of team he wants us to be, their philosophy, his leadership? He's a big question mark here. A big question mark.
Because we know his teams, he likes to coach his team to shoot a lot of threes. And shooting a lot of threes doesn't necessarily align itself nice and neatly with elite defense. But you got to believe that Joe, and maybe this is where his assistant coaches come in, has to lead. Oh, Charles Lee, Milwaukee, now you get Jrue. Not bad. You got to believe that Joe is going to recognize and lean into and try to amplify the fact that he has probably the best defensive backcourt in the NBA. When you look at Jrue and you look at Derek White, you have to figure out a way to amplify that particular point, because when you do something and have something that no one else has, or they don't have it as good as you do, you absolutely have to maximize that consistently. And I don't know if three-point shooting Joe is going to maximize the fact that you've got elite defenders who can get you easy buckets in transition and can lock kids up. And maybe the score isn't quite as 137 to 115 that you'd like. Maybe them doing their jobs well keeps the score at like 114 to 101. Figuring out how to get the best out of his players who have elite skills.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. And get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
That's going to be the challenge for Joe.
Don't have a system. Play to the strengths of your players, okay? Is Joe going to be able to look at the roster he has now and figure out the best style of play for these sorts of guys, the best lineup combos? I mean, he couldn't figure out that Derek White was his best guard until game 78 last year. You know, like, it took forever. You're looking in here, he didn't know what to do with Brogdon either. You'd see games Brogdon's playing 14 minutes, like he just forgot about him. You know, like,
yeah, there was a lot of interpersonal dynamics there too, though, especially after the Udoka situation. I think he goes into this year in a much better place to succeed. And let's not forget, I've been as critical of Joe as anybody, but they started 21-5 doing some legitimately innovative things offensively, where we said,
making threes.
Did he just kind of solve? No, there was a lot of movement and action and flow to the offense Bobby, too early on.
Right, but Bobby, you know what happened. I mean, listen, when you start the season off and you're winning and that's great, know what's going to happen. Teams are going to adjust. They're going to figure out some things, and they're going to force you to develop
there's no doubt.
Right. And to me, that was part of Joe's learning curve last year, was just figuring out how to counter or how to adjust to the counters that teams were making against him and some of the things he wanted to do. And it took him a little bit of time to figure that out. I'm hoping that experience will better prepare him to be able to counter attack what others are doing to him when they take away some of the things he wants to do initially.
Yep. Yeah, and he has the assistants now. He needs one of these guys to step up as his defensive guy. There's no doubt. I don't know if that'll be Lee or Casello, whatever it'll be, but someone's got to really drill the defense for this group. I don't think, especially, I went back and read that Athletic article again, that sometimes they came out of the article, out of the huddle, and really didn't know what they were doing defensively. There's got to be someone there drilling that, going over film with guys, making sure everything's tight and emphasized on that end, because they really did play loose on that side of the ball last year. The motivation, all the stuff we talked about, which, John saying a few minutes ago, that's got to be handled in the room. That's got to fall on the players at a certain point. It can't really be Mazzulla motivating them on the importance of the year at this point. And there's really no one at this point that can save them in that sense. So that falls on the players. They need a defensive guy to emerge. And when it comes to the offense, as you said, Sherrod, there's got to be some flexibility here. They need to use Porzingis in the post. Maybe, to your point, getting Horford in different spots. The mid-range. He was very flexible with Brown from the mid-range. Can other guys utilize that spot on the floor if they're struggling from three? And Tatum, too. I really didn't love the way they used Tatum bombing away at the top of the arc from three last year 8 times a game. There's many different spots on the floor you can utilize him out of, with and without the ball. So there's responsibility on both sides, right? The players have to figure this out to some degree. Joe, I think, will be better. And fortunately, he has a staff that's in his corner and better equipped to handle things this year, because for all the excuses last year, and I know we hate excuses, they were kind of valid. The whole staff shot out the door the day after the season ended.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great. And you handed Joe, not only with zero experience, a guy coming from, back, second row Joe, and all the jokes and this and that. But I mean, he really cut the line to get to where he was in that position. So whatever assistants remained, we're looking at him like, this guy, like Stoudemire, whatever. It's like, okay. So yeah, it was a weird situation. And even when you compare it to someone like Brad, who came in with a terrific college coaching pedigree, he got to grow with some younger players who were there and who, it was easier to get them to buy
Brad
in.
said I had it much easier than
much
Joe did.
easier. Joe walks into a ready-made locker room that has championship aspirations, and that now doubled down on that 1 year later, all knowing that he had kind of an up and down year last year. So it's definitely some pressure on Joe. I'm curious how he carries himself too. We talked about lack of importance with how things are in the media, but perception matters a little bit. You can't be this nervous basket case every time someone questions, like, how many threes you took or why you took so many.
Too, didn't it? I think that built what people saw him as.
It changes the perception, and then the conversation is different. It really only matters what the players think, but I don't think he helped himself with some of that stuff last year. So just being altogether a little bit more like Zen, I think will help Joe this year, in how this is. Who is he gonna tell he loves this year? Well, he loves Jalen. He's gonna have to learn to love all over again. There's a lot of new faces.
He's gonna have to learn to love Jrue.
He's gonna have to learn to love these guys.
Love the new guy. Since you don't love the guys that have been there, love the new guy.
What did you say to Jrue? What did you say to Jrue when he walked through the door? I told him I loved him. How is that possible, Joe? You just met him. Well,
love at first sight.
That's how it is.
Love at first sight.
I told him I loved him.
We said this too. I love, and we'll see, Brogdon might end up in Miami, and maybe he'll be in position for revenge or whatever, but I love that they have Jrue when their chief rival in the East is his old team that just traded him, that he played with for years. He knows Giannis. He knows everything they do there. That's awesome. That's a great thing to have here. And you kept Jrue away from Miami. If the Heat got Jrue today, what would we be saying? Oh, geez, that's not great.
Miami becomes a legitimate threat.
Philly gets him. With all the Harden nonsense going on right now, you're like, oh, they ended up pretty good out of that situation. And now you have them, and those teams are saying, uh-oh, the Celtics have Jrue now? This is a good trade here. I know I was torn. Now that I see it, now that I can feel it, I really like what
you
they
see
did
the light,
there.
Bobby. I'm glad. Stay off that fence, Bobby. You spend too much time on the fence.
Yeah, it's hard for me, as you can see.
I was worried they were going to send out Al. I was.
I'm wearing all black right now. I am in mourning and will remain so over Rob. That's gonna hurt. Like I know, like the thing some fans might do is like you almost kind of sort of want to see the other people you traded fail to feel better about the trade. I don't want to see Rob fail. I want to see Rob thrive, even if
Rob
it hurts.
is going to a great situation. He really is.
Well, if he's behind Ayton, and honestly, he's better than Ayton. So
they'll find that out real quick.
So we'll see. We'll see if they're going to have the same problem. Brad had 3 years ago, friggin' playing him behind Tristan. Like no, man,
You're
that's
so
your
low
guy.
on Ayton. You really are. I like Ayton. He was a center on a championship level team.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm gonna miss a lot of that. It really is like I'm struggling a little bit with the Rob
I'll tell you,
thing.
Scoot Henderson is not going to miss him on the roll like the Celtics did for all those years.
Yeah,
hopefully he went
to lob heaven because he didn't have it here.
Yeah.
So
Scoot's gonna. I would not be shocked if Scoot is in the top 5 for assists per game as a rookie, because he's gonna have opportunities every night if guys can stay relatively healthy to rack up big assist numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, the Blazers did so great with that Lillard situation. They really did. Everyone was giving them crap a lot. Even the past couple of days, it's like, oh, they did Lillard wrong. And was this really better than the Heat package? Well, now you have 2 more great firsts. Draymond got hurt yesterday, so now that Warriors pick is already like, ooh, like something,
looking better.
So
I kind of like that Warriors pick. I wish they could have found a way to hang on to that because they're like a disaster away from but
you
who
can
knows?
tell.
Yeah.
It is interesting that Portland was like, yeah, give us that.
That was obvious. I mean, you just gave them a player that makes them like no worse than like, the second best team in the East and a conference finalist, on a disappointing year. So that pick is 29. It's going to be hard for Golden State to get there. So it's obvious that that's what they held out for. I wish they could have, Celtics could have rolled the dice and keeping it.
Well, it's great that they had it, right? Because then you're saying, oh, the Celtics are giving up there. Would they give up in this 29? Maybe you're giving up 27 too, or a 20-30 swap. You would have been giving up a lot more of your own future in this deal if you didn't have that. So again, the way the Smart and Holiday trades connected together in the end was just perfect. They had Brad, we were sitting here 2 years ago saying, Brad's the GM? How's that going to work? Is he going to be gone a year? But he's just been perfect in this role. It's been unbelievable.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, but I think we'd already started to decide how we were going to feel about this when we thought it was a possibility a couple of days ago. Now it's real, and as we're processing it, I think, like I said, some people were gung ho, but the rest of us were like, if it happens, we can roll with it. We get it. We get why it is. And this is the cost of doing business, but it costs you some depth. It costs you a beloved player, costs you a player with a really high ceiling in Rob. And I think that's the thing that's going to hurt the most. I think the picks in Brogdon, people are absolutely fine to part with. You wish there was a different way to get this done, but there wasn't. I think we knew that a couple days ago. And that's where we are. So the deal gets done. Media Day is going to be incredibly interesting tomorrow. As we said, we will all be down there hanging out and kind of doing our thing. So make sure that
Thank God it's in Brighton.
Thank God. Canton's such a nightmare.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds Are. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too, especially since Celtics All Access listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/Celtics. That's oddsr.com/Celtics. With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/newsfeed50 and use code newsfeed50 to get 50% off. That's code newsfeed50 at factormeals.com/newsfeed50 to get 50% off.